when we started thinking about the 2021 season, it was important to find diversity in the repertoire, because very often symphony orchestras, they play symphonic pieces. And to me, to develop a relationship and, more importantly, an artistic sound identity for Osesp, it was simply crucial to work on big, orchestra pieces, Bartók, Strauss, Rachmaninoff, Stravinsky, but also on classical music. And classical music doesn't give us any choice. We have to discover the language, because not everything is written. So if you take a Mahler symphony, Mahler is writing sometimes big phrases in the score, about what the conductor should do and what they should be. I mean, it's very descriptive. But with Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, it's like learning a foreign language. You have to have a little bit of knowledge, historical knowledge, about the style, the articulation, the sense of tempi, very important in these three Mozart symphonies. There is a history about these three symphonies. Mozart was at the very end of his life, and in one summer, I think it's 1788 or something like this, despite him being sick, poor, losing the respect of the Viennese audience, the Viennese audience loved him a lot as a pianist in the end, but not the composer. And also personal family dramas. He lost his 6 months daughter, exactly at this time, just before as well. So total despair. And what happened? He writes in less than 2 months 3 symphonies. By writing these 3 symphonies, some people, and I like this theory, say that it's like an opera, without words, the 3 symphonies one after the other. There's even some tempi connection. I can tell you more about it. But the idea was to take this last illumination by Mozart to illuminate possibly our work with Osesp in this an amazingly beautiful and such a great acoustic Sala São Paulo. I mean, the 3 symphonies are having 3 very different characters. The first one, I will talk about the tempi, but the first one is very light, very optimistic, very positive. You see light, it's bright, E flat major, 3 flats, almost Masonic. There are a lot of affirmation and no doubt, no hesitation. The Symphony number 40, of course, it's world known. Everybody is whistling, the first movement. But this symphony is the drama of his life. It's really a dramatic symphony. He is writing in this symphony all the fights he had in all his life, but with the pride that he never gave up. So also he's using the key G minor, which he's using very rarely. There's out of 41 symphonies, only one other, the 25th, in G minor. And G minor in Mozart is symbolizing agitation and turmoil and problems and fight. So this is the character of Mozart's 40th Symphony. Is he had to fight against himself, against the Austrian royalties all his life, and he's describing this in minore, almost without hope, with a lot of nostalgia and sadness. And Jupiter Symphony is exactly the opposite. It's a triumphant symphony, C major. Again, in the 40th Symphony also he's not putting any trumpets and timpani, because he said that he doesn't think that the fight he was going through deserved any instrument symbolizing the celebration. So it's more intimacy. And then suddenly in Jupiter Symphony, heroic calls with trumpet, timpani, C major. And there he is basically expressing that he, despite all the obstacles in his life, he managed to go through. So triumphant first symphony, where he is almost a jubilation, but it's also him, when you arrive at the end of his life, whether he knew or not, he was a few months before dying. Then you heard the story of people just before dying, they remember things from their childhood. So there are passages in the first movement which are very fresh, very naive, which are not triumphant at all. But it's just, it's unconscious, and I'm making up a story, of course, but it's the way I see it, having studied, of course, the three scores. So it's a mix of triumph and looking back happy times when he was a naive child with a lot of hopes and joy to make naughty, arrogant little things. The first movement of Jupiter, according to this interpretation of history, should be the same tempo of the last movement of 40, which is normally heard, but no, and then every symphony is directly connected, just with a pulse, to the other. So whether it's true, whether Mozart meant it, nobody will never know. But what we know today is that this kind of genius, Mozart, can you imagine at 33 everything he wrote, all the operas, 41 symphony, 27 piano concertos, and it's unbelievable at that age. He's really one of the genius of the entire humanity, to write. So genius, sometimes they don't know what they do. That's why they are genius, because they have no idea. They just do it. So I like to be influenced by this way of looking at the connections. I don't take it for the absolute truth, but I take it for creating connections, having a big arch when we perform these three symphonies together. And this is also for me and for us with the orchestra a motivation to concentrate on articulation. In classical music, I am a complete believer that the best way to be expressive in Mozart or Haydn is not unlike romantic music, you know, with a lot of vibrato and depth, and it's with the articulation. If we articulate, you know, with homogeneity, with orchestra discipline, it has an impact which is destroying the wall in the back of Sala São Paulo. And then the musicians don't have to play loud, they have to be immersed by the concept of articulation. And if we do this the best we can, it has a dimension which is more impactful than any volume.